Canada's Liberal Party is projected by Canadian media to form the government in the nation's elections, which means Mark Carney will keep his job as Prime Minister. Now, it's not clear whether they'll be in the majority or the minority, but remember here, President Trump weighed in on this, of course, trolling Canada to become America's 51st state. This is some sound from voters who are going to the polls today, talked about why they were voting.
Most top of mind is Canadian sovereignty and maintaining that Canada continues to be a sovereign nation.
I think who I voted for would be the best to take care of Trump, because Trump is, I'm sorry to say, an ass, and he shouldn't even be president of the United States. But because he is, we need a strong person so that we could stand strong.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and Donald Trump's toxic political aura has gotten so bad, he's now losing elections in countries where he's not even on the ballot. And Monday night, Canada just sent him and Trumpism a brutal message the whole entire world can hear.
Because Trump is, I'm sorry to say, an ass.
On Monday, Canadians went to the polls, and Donald Trump went with them. Not literally, but his mouth, his insults, and his toxic brand of politics loomed over everything like a dark cloud. In the final days before the election, Trump disrespected Canada's sovereignty, joked about making it the 51st state, and mocked their leaders. What was the result? A massive voter backlash that flipped the election against Canada's Conservative Party and handed a comeback victory to the underdog Liberals, led by Mark Carney.
People are always asking, is he joking? Is he serious? He keeps talking about it, and he talks about it incredibly seriously, Anna.
Well, I mean, whether he's serious or he's joking is frankly not the point, because what he has effectively achieved is to antagonize ally after ally, right? He is a domestic factor in politics in Mexico, in Panama, in Canada. All of these were our friends and our allies, and he is the deciding factor in some of these elections and what happens there.
Trump wasn't just a factor, he was the catalyst. Donald Trump's brand of authoritarianism isn't winning hearts and minds anymore. It's waking voters up. The world is tired of chaos, tired of disrespect, tired of division. And if Canada can reject Trumpism and fight for their democracy, so can America. After all the headlines, all the insults, all the chaos, it came down to something much simpler. People standing up. One Canadian voter said it better than anyone. She called Donald Trump exactly what he is, an asshole, and warned that it was time for strong leadership to push back against him. It wasn't a rehearsed speech, it wasn't spin, it was raw, and it was honest, and it captured exactly what millions of people were feeling, not just in Canada, but all over the world. She spoke as a citizen tired of watching a bully run loose on the global stage. That anger didn't stay on social media. It didn't stay in viral clips. It showed up at the polls. Before Trump decided to start running his mouth about Canada, the Conservative Party was gaining momentum. The Liberals were slipping. Polls showed frustration, fatigue, and an appetite for change. But then Trump crossed the line. He called Canada the 51st state. He mocked their prime minister, calling him a governor. He talked about wiping out the border entirely, as if Canada was just some cheap real estate deal he could slap his name on. What he thought would get a laugh turned into a national gut punch. Canadians didn't laugh. They got angry. They got serious. Voters who had been leaning conservative, voters who were frustrated with the Liberals, voters who might have stayed home, they all had a reason to show up. It wasn't about partisan loyalty anymore. It wasn't about respect. It was about sovereignty. It was about standing up and saying, we are not for sale. Donald Trump didn't just insult a few politicians. He insulted an entire country. And Canadians answered him the way Democrats should, with their votes. Mark Carney became the face of that stand. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't shouting into microphones. He didn't promise chaos or revenge. He offered steady leadership. He reminded voters what real strength looks like. Carney closed his campaign with a warning that couldn't have been more clear. Every day, Canadians can see what slogans, anger, and chaos have done to America. They see division. They see weakness. They see a country tearing itself apart. And now, Carney warned, they want Canada's resources, our land, our strength. But Canada is not America. Thank God. Those weren't just words. They were a call to action. Canadians heard him. They stood up. They chose a different path. And they sent a message, not just to Trump, but to every politician trying to follow in his footsteps. Canada is not yours for the taking. Not now, not ever. Trump didn't just lose a news cycle. He didn't just get dunked on by the internet. He lost an election he wasn't even running in. He turned what should have been a conservative victory into a liberal landslide. He turned quiet frustration into loud, unified action. His own words galvanized a country against him, and the effects are still rippling. Because it's not just Canada. Trump's chaos is collapsing everywhere. Allies who once trusted America are pulling back. Democracies that once looked to us for guidance are building their own walls. Not because they hate us, but because they fear what we've become under leaders like Trump. And here at home, the collapse is happening in real time. Trump isn't just underwater with Democrats. He's bleeding support from independents. He's losing ground on every major issue. Immigration, underwater. Managing the federal government, underwater. Trade, underwater. The economy, underwater. Foreign conflicts, deeply underwater. Even the areas he once bragged about as strengths are now dragging him down. There's no way in hell, no chance, Republicans can keep control of the House if they keep hemorrhaging independent voters like this. The American people aren't just tuning Trump out. They're turning on him. They're rising up against the chaos. They're standing up to the extremism that has poisoned our politics. Just like Canada stood up and said enough, Americans are getting ready to do the same. And if they need proof that it's possible, they don't have to look far. Canada was tired. Canada was frustrated. But when it mattered most, they showed up. They unified, they fought back, and they took their country back without firing a single shot. They did it with ballots. We can do this same thing. We are not stuck with Marge the Trainwreck Green. We are not stuck with Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, Ted Cruz, and the long, embarrassing list of Republican extremists who care more about billionaires than they do about working people. They are not unbeatable. They are not inevitable. They are vulnerable right now. This is the moment. This is the fight. Canada showed the world that it can be done. And now it's our turn. Organize, speak out, volunteer, vote. Because the future isn't written yet. And the extremists counting on our apathy are about to find out what real resistance looks like. Donald Trump thought that he could bully the world into submission. Instead, the world is standing up against him. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.